Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. 6 civilians are killed and 8 wounded in Russian shelling in eastern Ukraine. And the Japanese foreign minister visits China, marking the first diplomat visit between the two countries in 3 years. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. Ukraine furiously criticized Russia's taking charge of the UN Security Council, with President Vladimir Putin accused of war crimes. His Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, called the move absurd and destructive. Meanwhile, 6 civilians were killed and 8 wounded in Russian shelling of Kostiantynivka in eastern Ukraine today morning. Kostiantynivka, home to about 70,000 people before the war, is just 20 kilometers west of Bakhmut, the epicenter of fighting for at least 8 months as Russian forces try to capture the city. The Russian defense minister promised to boost munitions supplies to Russian forces in Ukraine during a visit to the headquarters of Moscow's troops fighting in the country, according to footage published by the defense ministry yesterday. Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi is in China, where he met his counterpart King Gang, becoming Japan's first top diplomat to do so in more than 3 years, amid growing friction between the two countries, including new Japanese export controls and the detention of a Japanese national in Beijing. At the beginning of the meeting, Hayashi said that the two countries' bilateral relations are at an important juncture, with great possibilities and challenges ahead. His trip comes after Japan announced Friday that it will tighten export controls on 23 materials used for semiconductor manufacturing, seen as an effort to limit China's access to advanced chip-making technology, a step sought by the United States. Despite close economic and business ties between the two Asian powers, Tokyo and Beijing have been increasingly at odds in recent years. The death toll from a major storm system that has lashed the south central and eastern U.S. with devastating winds and powerful tornadoes has risen to 22, with dozens of others injured. A spokesperson for the Emergency Management Agency in Tennessee, one of the state's hardest hit since the storms began Friday, confirmed 7 weather-related fatalities that came on top of the 15 deaths reported in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama in the south, Indiana and Illinois in the Midwest, and Delaware in the Mid-Atlantic. The storm system yesterday was bearing down on the U.S. East Coast with thunderstorms, hail, and powerful winds predicted through late today. Heavy rain brought flash flooding to Australia's largest city, Sydney, today, prompting rescues and closed roads as authorities warned of bad weather ahead. Emergency authorities received 50 calls for assistance from residents in Sydney, the capital of New South Wales state, mostly for sandbagging of properties and to plug leaking roofs. Sunday's deluge comes after Sydney in 2022 notched its wettest year in 164 years as Australia's east coast endured a rare third straight year of the La Nina weather phenomena associated with increased rain. The nation's weather forecaster issued a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Sydney today, forecasting heavy rain and possible flash flooding, and warned of more rain for the city this week. Still to come in our news bulletin. A productive families fair is organized in the wilaya of As-Suwaiq as part of the North Al-Batina Ramadan Festival, Siraj. Rear Admiral Saif bin Nasser al-Rahbi, Commander of Royal Navy of Oman, received at Muaskar al-Murtafa today Captain Mohammed bin Yusuf al-Mair, Commander of the Combined Task Force 152, and his accompanying delegation, who are on a current visit to the Sultanate of Oman. During the meeting, the two sides exchanged viewpoints on a number of matters related to the marine field. The Public Authority for Special Economic Zones and Free Zones signed a memorandum of understanding to provide an emergency response, rescue and ambulance services in the Special Economic Zone in Duqm. The memorandum stipulates facilitating the procedures for establishing a company specialized in the field of emergency cases in Duqm and starting its operations in order to provide emergency services including firefighting, search and rescue, marine rescue, in addition to providing medical helicopters to cover third-degree injuries and transport the wounded to the emergency department according to international standards. The Memorandum of Understanding also includes the establishment of a training academy to train and certify Omani citizens in the fields of emergency services. His Excellency Engineer Ahmed bin Hassan al-Deeb, Deputy Chairman of the Public Authority for Special Economic Zones and Free Zones, signed the Memorandum of Understanding. Arrival and departure of international flights through the airports of Muscat, Salalah and Sohar witnessed a growth of 160% by the end of last January, as the number exceeded 7,500 flights. The National Center for Statistics and Information indicated that the number of arrivals increased significantly by 94%, as the number of departures also increased by 115%, bringing the total number to more than 1,165,000 passengers. Within the North Al-Batina Ramadan Festival, Siraj, a fair for productive families, was organized in the Wilaya of As-Suwaiq in cooperation with the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs and the Authority of Small and Medium Enterprises Development. 16 families participated in the fair with different products, mainly focusing on foods from the Omani heritage. Such fairs aim to increase the income of these families, create a marketing platform for them, and promote the culture of self-employment. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. 6 civilians are killed and 8 wounded in Russian shelling in eastern Ukraine. And the Japanese foreign minister visits China, marking the first diplomatic visit between the two countries in 3 years. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night and stay safe.